Disclaimer up at the top, this is an analysis of Rhaena in House of the Dragon, the TV show, not Fire and Blood. I know her story is very different in the book, but we won't be analyzing that, and I will not go into nettles here either. Enjoy! We're still halfway through the season here, but I want to take a moment to step back and analyze Rhaena after Season 3, Episode 4, because I am really into this diva. So, Rhaena obviously is the daughter of Daemon. She has Daemon inside of her. All the good and all the bad. On the surface, these characters do seem very different. They seem almost contrasting. Rhaena is quiet, meek, Daemon is Daemon. And it's evident that Daemon puts intense importance into who he is. A dragon. He belongs to a superior race. He deserves to be king of the world and should take things by force as though it was his family's birthright. This is who he is, who he believes himself to be. He's even in Rhaenyra's ear, telling her to be like this and do this herself. Daemon is extremely loud about his identity all the time. He can't help it. And children don't sit idly by while their parents do things. Children observe, they watch, and they absorb the behavior of their parents. Rhaena has spent so much time absorbing Daemon's personality. So naturally, how can Rhaena not do the same thing and analyze her identity? When she does, what does she see? No dragon, no partner, no inheritance, no mother, absent father. Unremarkable in court, polite yet overlooked, and as she said, at worst, pitied. I think Rhaena is pulled by two forces internally. Approval for acceptance by her father and fulfilling her identity as a member of this family. Maybe they're sort of intertwined together, but I definitely think those are two distinct thoughts she has. And we can't forget that Daemon is a second son. Maybe that's why he acts the way he does all the time. He was living in Viserys' shadow for so long. And Rhaena is a twin, but without a dragon, she is essentially a second daughter. Baela is overshadowing her pretty much all the time. Not to mention that Baela was betrothed to Jace, who was going to be king, so Baela was going to be queen, and Rhaena was going to be with Lucerys on Driftmark, I guess. Driftmark doesn't really seem like the place for Rhaena. So whatever feelings Daemon felt living as a second son in the shadow of Viserys, imagine that 10 times worse because you're Rhaena and you're a woman in patriarchy in Westeros. She, like Rhaenyra, like Alicent, has been at the mercy of others her entire life.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
We can assume Rhaena's life, now that she has no dragon, is to become a lady, marry, and have babies. She watched her sister, mother, father, and even infant cousins, they're cousins, right? Inherit and bond with dragons, and over time, she realized that her lot in life is to not do that. Not only is this a disappointment as a Targaryen, but also as the daughter of such a visible, loud, proud Targaryen. Daemon is basically the worst person to be the child of if you don't have a dragon. Like, imagine if Daemon or Laena were in that very same position. Rhaena says that she feels pitied. Imagine if Daemon ever felt pitied. She definitely has a death wish, because imagine if you were Rhaena, like, what is really the point of living? Okay, let's go there. She's like, okay, my betrothed was eaten by a dragon, and I'm practically an orphan the way I'm treated by my dad, and Jane Eyre is out-divaing me in every gorgeous gown she has every minute I'm in the Vale. At this point, I don't even care if a wild dragon eats me alive. If I get eaten by a wild dragon, at least a dragon will be part of my life story. Because remember, Laena burned herself alive because she was likely going to die in childbirth. Birthing a child she likely didn't even want to have, just because that is what is expected of her as a woman. Laena's final act is to end things on her own terms and take her own life through dragonfire.
She's got a point.
Reject the ending that was chosen for her, embrace the ending she writes for herself. Perhaps there's a voice within Rhaena telling her to do the same thing. Like, she doesn't even know if her side is going to win. And how does she know that if her side does win, she won't simply be betrothed to another random man and be told to make babies for him? So does Rhaena accept the life she is given, or does she take off into the wilderness to live life on her own terms, even if it kills her? And she knows the choice her mother made. But what would her father do? What would a dragon do? Her identity crisis, juxtaposed with the heart of the show, which is the Alicent Rhaenyra lovers to enemies fanfiction, which I love. I love, Rhaena's story fits extremely well in the overall series, in my opinion. Sorry about that, I just get nervous whenever I post my opinions on the internet that a war is going to break out, not unlike the Dance of the Dragons or the Death of the Dragon. To make a long story short, we can say that more or less, Alicent's story has been about playing by the rules and realizing that it won't get her anywhere, while Rhaenyra's story has been about writing her own rules and realizing the limitations of that. And I think Rhaena's arc is very similar to Alicent's. She followed the rules her entire life, and now it's led her to being a royal babysitter for 2 children who she's watching bond with dragons at birth. Meanwhile, Jane Eyre is right there out mogging you. So she does the thing any dragon would do. She chose fire even at the risk of death, and she finally gets what she has wanted for her entire life. And it is nothing like she hoped. Top 10 girl bosses gone wrong. Strikingly, Rhaena has cut her hair fierce. This represents her new identity. She has literally shed the weight of the Targaryen she once was, and what's left is the Targaryen she chooses to be. Because I was in the Avatar fandom on Tumblr in 2014, the first thing I see when a diva cuts her hair is Korra cutting her hair. And then I think of Zuko cutting his hair as well. And then I think of Mulan also cutting her hair, which is also an example of a woman fitting in a man's world. And then hello, I also think of Arya at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones, whenever she had to cut her hair, go into hiding as a boy, and pretend not to be a Stark. Literally cutting off her Stark identity. Hello. Girl, in stories, a haircut is never just a haircut. Can't a character just get a bob for fun? A dragon will not solve all of Rhaena's problems, but you know what will? Bangs! 9 times out of 10, a haircut is a new identity. In order to become your new self, you have to let go of your old self. And as is the case with Korra, Zuko, Arya, Mulan, and Rhaena, the old self being left behind was an identity forced upon them by the outside world. So at first I'm like, yes, go off girl, show them everything you are, burn them alive, you get your dragon, you're a winner, I love you. But I mean, really, is it that though? Like the question is, what parts of your old self are you letting go of, and is that always a good thing? Like Daenerys being baptized by flames, Rhaena has undergone a similar transformation, and this is pivotal to her character and ultimately what character-driven stories are even about. Choices lead to consequences, leading to questioning, leading to the evolution of identity. And to hear Rhaena say, "This dragon is a part of me," that is such a Targaryen thing to say. In her eyes, her expression whenever Daemon suggests leaving Sheepstealer behind, God, like, she has already changed. The change has happened. We can't go back. And it's clear that a mental connection exists between writers and dragons, so we can take this metaphorically and literally. This dragon is literally part of her, in her soul. The meek, polite self has been cut away, leaving only the new, fiery self. And again, this makes complete sense that this is happening to the child of Daemon, who is always talking about getting a dragon. And then he has the gall to say, what are you doing? Leave that dragon behind. You're betraying Rhaenyra. This is treason. Girl, who do you think made her like this? Rhaena is like this because of you. And yes, by claiming Sheepstealer, Rhaena has betrayed her orders given to her by Rhaenyra in order to create a new identity for herself. And also, in another extremely Daemon-coded move, Rhaena rejects her father due to the way he ignored her. The single scene we get between the two of them tells us so much about both of them, especially Rhaena. She starts by sulking in a cave and ends by rejecting her father and flying out of the cave on her dragon into open air. The visual metaphor could not be more obvious. She is coming out of her cave, embracing her new self. And it's ironic that leaning into this Targaryen self, this wild dragon self, pushes away her father, the only person who would really understand her on that level. This entire family is so dysfunctional. Like, that's the whole point of the show, but still, like, the fact that Rhaena is so much more of a dragon than she ever has been before, yet so distant from all the other dragons, it's just like, damn. Reclaiming your identity is good, deciding who you want to be is good, but like, is that really what she's doing here? Has she always wanted a dragon because she's always wanted a dragon, or because she's always been the girl without a dragon? And we saw that her initial adjustment to her new identity and her new dragon was awful. It was fatal for many people. When we're introduced to her in this episode, her silhouette is backlit by her dragon's fire, as though her entire self is defined by fire, defined by her dragon itself now. Her old identity is gone. She's just a black anonymous shape that is more dragon than human. I think that one shot tells us so much more than we think at first. She has lost herself in this. She has lost her old self, and her new self, maybe it's not good. Maybe this new self is not a good thing. I mean, now she has a nuclear bomb at her arsenal. Like, and we've clearly seen that's not a great thing to have. Like, look, aren't you happy? I finally have a dragon. I'm finally the person everyone said I should be, but I'm dirty, I'm alone, my hair is gone. So yeah, I'm cheering for Rhaena finally becoming the dragon she wants to be, but it's not without a huge sense of foreboding that she's leaning in to the dragon impulse that led to this war in the first place. Is Sheepstealer going to fill the emptiness in Rhaena's heart left by her father neglecting her? Probably not. Honestly, as a Targaryen, you probably walk around feeling pretty comforted by the fact that you are part of this great mythos, this great destiny of greatness. So Rhaena obviously felt excluded from that, but now she's part of that in a way, but like, that's a myth. The Targaryen myth of greatness is a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth. It's the same myth of monarchy. Monarchs are not chosen by God to rule. It's a lie. It's a big lie. And I kind of see this as Rhaena believing the lie that she's been told her entire life, that Targaryens need to have a dragon. The Dance of the Dragons is not a happy story. The ending is not necessarily happy. Spoiler alert. It's not a feel-good family show, okay? More so, it's a show about a family feeling good together. If Rhaena's arc was a feel-good arc, she might have sat with herself, pondered, thought to herself, you know what? I don't need a dragon. I'm perfect the way I am. And then look to the camera and say, and so are you, viewer. So Rhaena finally gets to be part of the destiny of the myth. She finally gets to have a dragon on the tapestry.
Hey! Hey! How y'all doing?
But you know what happens to that tapestry at the end of the opening title sequence? It rips in half, girl. And none of this is to imply that her character arc is bad. I think this is great. It's just another tragedy in the endless cycle of parents and children and war and just, shit. There is no such thing as destiny. It's all choices we make ourselves. And Rhaena has made some interesting choices while searching for herself, but now she's on the back of a dragon, and what does she know about herself? Is she still going to be unhappy, looking for approval, looking for someone to love her and like her for who she is? Or instead, like Daemon, will she just lean into it even more and wrap herself around her new wild dragon identity? So on the one hand, yes, I'm like, girl boss, go off, I love you, slay queen. On the other hand, good luck, girl. Just good luck. God, I think she is such an interesting character, very complex. I'm so glad that they gave her something to do in this show, because divorced from the books, if you're just watching the show, you're probably like, who's that girl? What? What's going on? I had several friends of mine after watching this episode ask if Rhaena is Daemon's daughter. I forget that other people have lives and don't have a lot of time to think about the inner dynamics of a fake family. But I have lots and lots of time. I can't wait to see what happens with Rhaena. I really hope it's good. I really hope it doesn't suck. I have a good feeling about it, but you know, there's always a risk. I'll probably do a follow-up video at the end of the season just to talk about Rhaena's character, if she's still alive, or maybe if she dies or something. I guess we'll see. Another cool juxtaposition is that, again, Rhaena and Daemon are so similar now. They both have dragons. They're both wild at heart, it seems, following their impulses even whenever they're not supposed to. But after Alice Rivers took Daemon on that ayahuasca trip, he kind of adjusted his perception of the mythos inside of his own head. He no longer sees himself as the main character and sees himself as someone to bolster Rhaenyra so that they together can restore the power of old Valyria. He's still driven towards that goal, but he's no longer willing to break off and go and do his own thing and write his own story. He's part of the Rhaenyra story. He's collaborating on a greater story, whereas Rhaena is not doing that. Rhaena is not collaborating with Rhaenyra on this greater plan of her being the queen. Rhaena is going off and doing her own thing, very much like a young Daemon would do. So now it's almost like their arcs are the inverse of each other. Rhaena starts out not seeing herself as the main character in her own life, and now she is. And Daemon always saw himself as the main character in his life, and now he doesn't. So now I guess the question is, will Rhaena come around to Rhaenyra's side? Or maybe Daemon will be inspired by Rhaena and realize that he needs to make choices for himself, possibly moving away from Rhaenyra if something goes wrong. If that is the case, I would be very interested to see how they handle that, given that Alice Rivers spent so much time working on Daemon's character arc. So maybe he will emerge from this whole series focused on the greater good. So Rhaena's story has diverged from the book a lot. And as Game of Thrones fans, I know we all get very scared whenever showrunners diverge from the books a lot, but I have faith that the House of the Dragon writers will at least do something intentional and bold with Rhaena's character. Because they already have, and I think we are smack dab in the middle of her character arc, and I'm very interested to see who or what she becomes. My only question is Jane Eyre confirmed to be a lesbian in the show? Someone please tell me.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.